guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Fit Women's Weekly podcast. If this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome. I hope that you hear something in this episode that makes you decide to want to come back for future episodes, and of course, go back and listen to previous episodes because I have over 650 previous episodes. So if there's a topic on fitness, nutrition, mindset, or just different experiments that I've done with myself and my own experiences, chances are I have an episode on it. And if you aren't sure how to find it, feel free to ask. If you're watching this on YouTube, ask down below, or you can drop into my DMs, Kindal Boyle Fitness, or feel free to shoot me an email, kindle@fitwomensweekly.com. In today's episode, I want to share with you guys my experience of my 31-day carnivore-ish challenge. I've gotten a lot of questions on this, a lot of people asking why I would do something like this, and of course, people asking, what was my experience like? What were my results? So I want to break it all down, especially now while it's fresh into my head because I just finished the challenge about 2 days ago. And what does it mean for my nutrition coming up? What does my nutrition look like right now? So first things first, what is a carnivore diet? Carnivore diet is exactly what it sounds. It is eating a meat-based diet. It's basically a more stringent keto diet where all that you can eat are animal-based products. Now, I say carnivore-ish diet because there were 2 different cheats that we were allowed to have, and I'll explain those in just a second. But let me just preface this a little bit with my experience with the carnivore diet. So 2 years ago, when carnivore started becoming a little bit, a little bit more popular, you started seeing more people talk about it, I decided to do a 3-month carnivore diet at that time. And really the basis just being I enjoy experimenting with myself. When it comes to people asking, hey, what do you know about this and this? I can give you the scientific information about it, what science shows, what the articles show. But I also like to say, all right, here's what science shows and here's what happens when I do it, because I am a big believer that we are all different, and what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So if you're ever curious about something, experiment. And if at any time something's not working for you, you could always stop what you're doing and resort back to what you were doing, or pivot and try something different. And the carnivore challenge was no different. It became a little bit more mainstream, and I decided to say, you know what? Let's just give this a little bit of a try, see how it does for me, see if it's something that makes me feel good, see how my body responds, and then I got to share that experience with you guys. Spoiler, it started off great, it didn't end great. So my first time through it, I ended up going for a little bit over 3 months. The first month, I felt great. I felt like my stomach was amazing, bloating was gone, bathroom time was regular, my energy for my workouts was great, mental clarity was fantastic, sleep was great. And then at about 1.5 to 2 months into the carnivore diet, and I've podcasted about this before, so you can go back and check all of this stuff and listen to those episodes too. But after about 2 months, things weren't so great anymore. I had leaned out a little bit, which wasn't a goal, but people always say, hey, did you lose weight? Yes, I did lose a little bit of weight during that experiment. But my mental health started to decline a little bit. My anxiety started to go up a little bit more. I started to have little bouts of depression, which I don't know if that was related to the carnivore challenge because that did actually extend a little bit farther beyond and was a whole nother story in and of itself. But on top of that, my sleep got very, very weird. And this was the biggest issue for me personally because I've always had very vivid dreams, but I suddenly started to have nightmares, I started to have night terrors and sleep paralysis. And if you have never had an issue with sleep paralysis or night terrors, consider yourself so lucky because they are the scariest things that I've ever experienced in my life. I had one that was so realistic that I still don't like to talk about it out loud. I've never shared the exact experience here on the podcast. My nieces have asked, somehow it came up with one of my nieces, my oldest niece, and she keeps saying I want to hear the actual story. And I'm like, no, I will not tell you the story. But it haunts me to this day. And it was very scary to Dan because I would wake up kicking and screaming and crying, and we didn't know what was going on. And so after doing a little bit of research, we started to say, what if it's my nutrition? And I began adding some fruits and vegetables in, and I have not had those kind of night terrors again. And they were happening about once a week up to multiple times a week during that time. So for them to go just away instantly at the second that I started to add some more fruits and vegetables is very, very interesting. But we actually talked about this on my episode last week where I talked with Dr. Sarah about sleep and how nutrition can play a role. So you can go back and listen to that episode. So all that to say is after that experience, I was like, nope, done with the carnivore, at least for now. So fast forward about 2 years, what in the heck would make me want to do this again? Basically FOMO, if I'm being perfectly honest. My husband works at an office and him and a couple of his coworkers were like, you know what? I don't want to do dry January. Been there, done that. But I do want to do some sort of challenge that is going to really test me and make it like how disciplined can I be? And so after going back and forth with themselves for a couple of days, they decided that they would do a 30-day carnivore challenge. Not to lose any weight, but to simply say, I want to do something hard. And 30 days of something like that isn't going to make a huge impact on their overall health. And again, if at any time there was issues with their health, they could always change things up a little bit. And so when Dan came and presented it to me that he's like, hey, I'm going to do this carnivore challenge for 31 days for the month of January, I am the one that does all of our cooking. So I said, all right, cool. Then I'm not going to cook 2 different meals. I'm also not going to sit here and eat a salad bowl in front of you because that's not fair either. I will support you and I will actually do it with you. But I did say from going over my previous experience that if I were to do it, I am going to keep 1 serving of fruit into my diet per day because I know what can happen if I don't. And then it just worked out really well that the group came together and said each person was allowed to have 2 quote unquote cheats throughout the challenge. So they were able to choose 2 foods each that they could keep into their diet throughout the experience. So for Dan, he decided on doing olives and what was his second one? Oh, his protein shake, which was a protein shake that had blueberries in it. So blueberries and olives were his. I think that the other people incorporated, I know that there are 2 other people in our group had avocados, but I don't remember what their other one was, but I know that they both chose avocado as one of theirs. And for me personally, I chose an apple and my cucumbers, which I eat every day at my lunch. So that was how we kind of hit the ground running. And it went, for the most part, really, really well. The other reason that I decided to do it, not only for support and for FOMO, was also because during the holidays, I'm not gonna lie, I was incorporating a lot more sugar and sweets into my personal nutrition than I prefer. And I could just kind of feel myself craving sugar a little bit too much. And I know that I needed a break. And for me personally, we've talked about this on the podcast. There are people in this world called moderators and there are abstainers. People who can say, I'm going to eat just 1 Girl Scout cookie every day until the box is gone. And then there are abstainers who look at that box of cookies and go, I'm just going to go ahead and eat the entire box of cookies in this one setting because I'm going to eat them eventually anyway, so I'm just going to do it now. And that's not the greatest mindset to have when it comes to your food because it is different on your body when you're eating everything at once versus breaking it up over time. And you have that feeling of just like guilt, right? Of, oh my God, I just ate an entire box of Girl Scout cookies. So for me, when I want to cut back on sugar, it just is more beneficial for my mindset to say I'm cutting it out altogether. And so having a goal like the Carnivore Challenge with all these other people just helped me actually follow through with that plan. And spoiler, I was successful. So I am going to talk about the actual results that I got from this challenge. We'll talk about that at the end because I know people are always curious of how did your body change? But I do want to just go ahead and make sure that I'm trusting the fact that I did not do this as a way to lose weight. This is not a weight loss tactic. Doing the Carnivore Challenge, like something like this, is more of a fad diet. And for people who are trying to lose weight on this, they're not going to be very successful. I mean, there's always going to be the outliers of some people that are, but for most people, this is not a lifestyle. And so if they try to do something so drastic where they're cutting out all these different micro groups that, you're cutting out all of your carbohydrates basically, then you're going to lose weight during that time. But because you can't keep going on with that lifestyle forever, when you do revert back to your old habits, you just gain that weight right back. So I just want to preface this that this was not a weight loss challenge. This was a discipline challenge. This is just to make it through and see how our bodies reacted and to just learn a little bit more about our bodies, which I absolutely did. So as far as what our actual nutrition looked like, I didn't want to get flavor fatigue. So we basically alternated each night for dinner time with chicken, pork, and beef, alternating through those. And I wasn't so stuck on trying to keep things really lean. So like sometimes we'd have chicken breasts, sometimes we'd have chicken thighs or a whole chicken, chicken wings. Same with steak, we would have different types of cuts. We would do 33% ground meat sometimes and 85% some other times, because we do want to make sure that we're getting in high fat as well, which is a really important part of the carnivore diet to help us stay fuller longer. So that was how we avoided flavor fatigue, was just alternating every single night with some either different cut of meat or some different type of meat completely. And I also personally use this as almost like a Chopped. You guys remember that TV show where it was like you would have 3 ingredients and it was like come up with something. So we did it obviously during January and it was really cold. So I got to experiment where I basically made chicken noodle soup one night but without noodles. And then I would make a pot of chili one night but without the beans. Basically it was just chili sauce, and I would make like a gravy to slow cook beef in, and it actually turned out really, really well. One other great thing that I learned was that powdered milk, and this is why I also call it carnivore-ish. Not only did we have our 2 cheats, but we also did incorporate other animal-based products that some like strict carnivore followers don't use. I did use milk powder, and if you do milk powder mixed with eggs, it actually makes like a bread. So one night I made chicken and dumplings using that milk powder and egg recipe to make homemade dumplings, and it turned out fantastic. So I really made it like a chopped episode to make it more fun for us. And that really helped us personally. Same thing when it comes to sweets. We did stay off of all added sugar, but I used that same idea with the milk powder and using whey protein to make Oreo cookies almost one day, and whoopie pies with butter, cream cheese, and a little bit of vanilla protein. And it sounds so weird, but they actually turned out delicious, like to the point that I am reworking on this recipe to be able to share it with my Plan Smart Eat Real and my Fit Women's Weekly community. So yeah, it was a really fun challenge to get outside and make cooking fun, because we can kind of get into those periods of time where you're just making the same meals over and over again. So having these quote unquote rules to what I was allowed to use just reinvigorated my love and my passion for being in the kitchen. So it was a really cool experience. That was how we navigated our food. And then I would always pre-make my husband's meals for lunch as well. Just making sure that basically each time we would sit down to eat, each of us were getting at least 6 ounces of meat per sit down. And that provided us with enough calories and enough of feeling satiated from one meal to the next, so we never felt full. For me personally, it was normally about 6 ounces. And then for Dan, I would make sure he had probably between 8 to 10 ounces with every single meal. And that just worked out really, really well with us. Now, how did we feel? For Dan, I know that the first week or 2, he did feel a little just off, right? He was outside of his normal routine and his body was getting adjusted to it. For me personally, my first 2 weeks, I felt great. It was in weeks about 3 to 4 where my body started to finally go, oh my God, we're doing something different. What are you doing? Because you can make changes in your gut flora. You can sometimes need some more probiotics and prebiotics to help with your digestion, and it can really do a number on your system. And he adjusted pretty quickly. For me personally, it took, like I said, a little bit longer for it to hit, and then it's taken a little bit longer for it to actually adjust. Over the past week and a half, I have had some symptoms that I'm not super stoked about personally. I've had basically every time I eat, this has only been the past week or so. And if anyone has experienced this before, please feel free to reach out and share what's worked for you. I'll tell you guys what I'm doing right now to help myself heal. But I've experienced gas and a little bit of bloating about an hour after my big meals, which are lunch and dinner, as well as some loose, we're being honest. We're talking in the name of science. So I don't like talking about this stuff, but I do feel like it's important to answer your questions. I've had some diarrhea about an hour after my meals. And this has been going on for about a week now. And that's even with the challenge being over, where I can incorporate some I'm trying to be very easy in reintroducing foods to see how things make me feel. So I've reintroduced things like sourdough bread. I think that's really it actually so far, because my stomach hasn't been feeling that great. I've been trying to stick to more very easy to break down foods versus trying to add Brussels sprouts in or something crazy like that where I know it would upset my stomach. Dan actually had Brussels sprouts the other night and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to try to maintain making my stomach nice and healthy. So with that, my bathroom consistency has also been a little different in comparison to what I was used to. I am somebody who in the past is notorious very regular, and my regularity has not been the same over the past 2 weeks, which is very, very frustrating. I did start incorporating some fiber pills towards the last end of the challenge just to try to get things moving. That did not help very much. On top of that, the consistency of my stools are very different as well. It's very thick, very tar-like, which leads me to think, after doing some research, that I'm either high in iron, a little too high in iron, and I am eating more red meat than what I think I'm accustomed to, or my iron levels might be low. And if my iron levels are low, I would definitely be raising an eyebrow. But I've got a doctor's appointment coming up soon, so we'll figure all that stuff out. But yeah, that's not fun. And so what I'm going to be doing now that the challenge is technically over, I don't want to just incorporate all these fruits and vegetables and foods back into my life that would most likely upset me even more because I've now gone over a month without them. I am going to do more of a FODMAP diet this coming week because clearly my gut is not healthy. My intestines are a little irritated, even though inflammation is supposed to be reduced during carnivore. For me, I feel like it might be up a little bit. So I'm going to give my gut a break and just stick to very basic foods. I am going to buy some rice today. I'm going to cook that in some bone broth, stick with just very basic, very lean, 93% ground meat and chicken, just for the next week or two to let things heal. And I'll keep you guys posted. I'll make note of how everything is going in my second episode, which comes out every Friday, just on audio base. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want the update, make sure that you go and subscribe to the podcast channel so that you can get those updates. So yeah, that's kind of how things are going right now. As far as what that means moving forward, most of the people that are doing this challenge actually feel really, really good, and most of them are going to continue, but allow for the flexibility. So if they're going out to eat, it's not going to be so rigid. They're trying to learn how to adapt all of these different experiences that they've had over the past month into creating more of a manageable lifestyle. One of the ladies did end up losing over 10 pounds and over 12 inches from just 1 month. And I'm trying to teach her, okay, that's great that you did that. But like I talked about at the beginning, this is technically a fad diet. And I don't want her to have worked so hard and then at the end of February have gained all of that weight back. So I am trying to give her tips on how to modify in order to create more of a little bit of a lifestyle and to gradually figure out her healthy habits to be able to keep that weight off and get into maintenance. So hopefully she'll be able to figure that out. And then as far as me personally, I know that people are always curious, again, what kind of results did you see? I am not somebody that had a lot of weight to lose to begin with, but I did lose about 2.5 pounds and I did lose about 2% of body fat, which for 1 month is actually pretty impressive. But again, I've also had an upset stomach the past couple of weeks, a lot of diarrhea, which can lead to weight loss. So I'll be more curious to see what my results look like after I've been able to maintain more of a healthy, more balanced nutrition program for about 2 weeks. And so again, I will update you guys. I did take some pictures and I will post pictures up on the YouTube channel on how things looked at the beginning and after the carnivore challenge. But overall, you know what? I think it's never a bad thing to just experiment with yourself, to listen to your body. If anything, when you do these kind of challenges, it gives you the opportunity to learn how to listen to your body. I've been very, very in tuned and, I'm able to say like, I'm a little bit achy, or I've noticed that my recovery is a little bit slower or a little bit faster. My sleep has actually been so much better during this time. When we incorporated bread into our dinner this past weekend, both Dan and I woke up without thinking about it. We just looked at each other and go, I didn't sleep really well. And at first we were like, well, were there noises outside? Did the cat wake us up? And then we realized no, it was just both of us woke up. I woke up on Saturday night, and just that feeling of where you wake up and you just can't fall back asleep. And I didn't mention it to Dan. And then on Sunday, he woke up and said the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, I had that experience last night, the night before. And I really do believe that that was based on the nutrition and adding that bread back into our life. Not saying that bread is bad. Again, just learning to pick up how your body reacts to different things and how important nutrition plays a role in all aspects. Like sleep is very important. And I never had those sleep issues. I think I slept more throughout the night, where I would fall asleep at my bedtime and I would wake up when the alarm went off without any nighttime wake ups. I slept better than I have probably in months during the month of January. So that is a plus. Now, obviously the negative is my digestive issues that I have going on right now. And also I do feel as if I am recovering a little bit slower from my workouts. Last week, I noticed that I was sore for several days, where normally I can do a tough workout and I might be sore the next day, maybe the following day after that. But then after that, I'm pretty much back to normal. And I know that on this past Thursday, I had a very tough leg workout and I was still recovering from it on Sunday, where just my glutes were still really, really sore. And just one of those things of me going, oh my God, today is my rest day. Tomorrow starts a new training week. I better be back to normal by tomorrow. So those little things that you're able to pick up on. So that was our carnivore experience. I believe that Dan is going to continue on for the most part through February as well. I was going to, but now understanding where my gut health is, I am going to take a step back and, like I said, go into a FODMAP diet and then adopt my more normal balanced lifestyle back again. But I can take with me the fact that I went 31 days without any added sugar. That felt really, really good. And I am going to try to maintain that for February, because my body feels the best when I'm not adding so much sugar and sweets and when I'm not having those cravings. You know, when you start to eat them, then you start to crave them even more. So that really did help me kind of take a step back and go like, okay, let's detox from the sugar a little bit and we'll see how that goes through February. So that was our carnivore experience. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If you're watching this on YouTube, ask down in the comments. If you're listening to this, feel free to shoot me a DM, Kindal Boyle Fitness over on Instagram. That's where I'm more active. Or again, email me, kindle@fitwomensweekly.com. Now, the last thing that I want to say is I am so stoked. Dan was originally supposed to be on this podcast with me. I'm not going to lie. We were going to talk about this together. But this past weekend, which is when we would have been able to record together, we were so busy working on getting our program launched for the Ignite 30 template. If you've been working out, but you're not able to maintain a consistent routine, maybe life is so busy that it's really easy to be like, oh my God, I can't fit in my 60-minute workout, or I can't make it to my workout class, so I'm just not going to work out at all. Or maybe you just don't know how to design a proper workout schedule throughout the week that can hold you accountable and help you get the results that you want. So for all those reasons, I created a free workout template. It tells you what to do on each day. It gives you a primary goal, which is what you want to strive for, but also a busy goal. Because you guys know I am all about a little is better than nothing. A little is still able to hold you accountable and still keep you where you get to say, that was a win, I got something done. So there are smaller goals on those crazy days along with the busy goals. I also talk about fit quickies each day and lay out tips to help hold you accountable. And again, it's completely free. I even give recommendations on the type of workout to do each day. And then all you have to do is plug it in. And if you don't want to do that, then you can learn more about my Ignite 30 challenge, where you can get the access to the template and go through the actual workout challenge with me, where I give you the workouts, I do the workouts with you, I do everything with you, you have access to me. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, I just want you to download the free template and see how cool it is and help get yourself set on a schedule that works. And you can do that by clicking on the link down in the show notes. All right, guys. Thank you so much. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe. Words are hard, but what I'd really, really love for you to do is go check out that training template because I know that you'll get a lot out of it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.